do we have a link for the book?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Did it trim the intro?
Oh man, I guess we're Bill O'Reilly in it tonight.
I think
we're doing it
we're
live.
Do it live. We'll do it live.
Well,
I
think
it's fine.
Yeah, you know,
it's fine.
Welcome back, everybody,
fine.
to another episode of Comics della Morte. Episode 105. Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, 1979. The Scientist, with also always our amazing guest and returning guest, Gary Hodges. This is the
maybe
third
illustrious
issue in his amazing series.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Maybe
Dinosaurs
it's Maybelline,
versus
but we'll see.
Marsbots 79. It's busting.
Right?
I can't wait to talk about it. I've talked about it with Gary, but I'm always down to talk about this book. This is one of my favorite series in comics. Excellent.
Yeah. So pretty much,
I was just
Gary,
telling
just let
Josh
people
Campbell
know what.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I missed it.
Oh yeah, go ahead, bud.
Oh, I was just saying.
No, I was just. I'll let you finish, then I'll ask you.
Okay. I was just telling Josh Kemble the other day that so DVSM 79 has been out for I think a couple months, and I've just gotten to the point. I think both you guys are creators. You'll appreciate this. I've just gotten to the point where I can look at it and kind of like it. Like it's just got where I'm not in the thick of like,
right.
Oh, did I make all the right decisions? And am I happy with that? And does that all work?
Oh yeah, most
like
definitely.
I finally am clear of it enough where I like just feel good and like, okay, yeah, no,
that's awesome. That's good to hear. Like,
yeah,
we're your homies, and like I'm sure like the sales of the book say yes, this book is as good as advertised, but it always comes down to how you feel about it.
And
if you get to the point that you're happy with it, then you've won. And so, congratulations. It's good to see you believe in it as much as we believe in it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But yeah, we do have a link in the description for it. So anybody that wants to check it out, just go down below. I mean, I also have your Instagram and all that stuff. So yeah, just pretty much let people know what's different about this chapter than the other ones and why the big jump from 1997 to now back to 1979.
Sure thing. Okay, so I'll start in the beginning. DVSM is my sci-fi indie comic series that I write and draw. There are 3 issues out of a 6-issue series. I just finished the 3rd one, which is DVSM 1979. The theme of it's eyewitness accounts of a sci-fi war that takes place over several decades, starting in the 70s and ending in the early 2000s. And each one focuses on a different eyewitness character and describes one of their stories from this conflict. The first one, DVSM 75, is about a man in black. The second one, DVSM 1997, is about an eyewitness who just happens to be out in the desert taking nature photos, and she sees something she wasn't supposed to see. And then this one's about a scientist in a top secret facility working on basically the alien problem. We are in the war at this point. It's not going well for us. And there's all these different research facilities around the country working on anything that might turn the tide. And this particular facility is taking a very unusual approach to how are we going to deal with the alien threat. The reason I decided to skip around in the timeline, it's a little, you'll have to bear with me here. If you want just to follow the war, I would say read them in order of the years, the titles. So you would read 75 first, then 79, then 97, and then I have the 3 more coming out that will be sprinkled throughout that. But that's not the order I release them, because again, this is a character-focused series. So rather than I'm less telling the story about the war, I'm more telling the stories about the people who are in it, and therefore I'm releasing the comics in theme order. So I feel like each comic, it flows naturally into the sort of story I'm going to tell in the next one. It may not be chronologically the next story, but it's thematically the next story, the story that makes sense next.
I would like, definitely say, not to step in. Oh, my bad.
No, not a problem. No, it's fine. I was gonna say, do you feel? I mean, you probably do, but do you feel these different characters that are at these different time points that they're gonna meet up in future books?
There will be mild crossovers here and there. There is a.
Without... Oh, you're able to click for that, Jason. Thank you.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Yeah.
There will be little crossovers. I really do write each one to be entirely standalone. And each one will focus on a completely different character. So for example, 75 focuses on Ruben Garcia, who's a man in black. He will never be the focus of a D versus M ever again. But he might appear here and there, like because he's in the world and he's important in this world. Other characters might be like that too. Like the
not going to be like the D versus M Adventures where they're going to come together.
Probably not. No, because again, that would be drifting from like, is there like a central focal character? But like this one, the star of this one is Dr. Veronica Wagner. She's the scientist in this book, in this story. We will probably see her again, or at least have her referenced again in different parts of the D versus M story. But she'll never be the focal character.
Hopefully she's not going to be wearing that coat anymore.
There's no way I'm going to draw her in that coat anymore. She's wearing, in the comics, she's wearing a plaid, a very 1979 appropriate plaid jacket that it was a nightmare to draw.
Yeah,
over
I
and
mean,
over
I
and
give
over.
I give hats off to you.
Thank you.
I give hats off to you because it's one of those things that you're not just drawing a checker plaid, but you're trying to see how this coat would look like at different angles and how it would look like if it was folded up and all that stuff. And just trying to make it where it's like it doesn't look sloppy and it looks like it's all the same. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It was laborious to get it to look right. But I felt it was important. First of all, I think this is something I think I've talked to this about this with you guys maybe the last time I was on years ago when I was probably in the middle of planning this or drawing it. But I think it pays off in a few different ways. But first and foremost, I think it's fun to look at. And comics are a visual medium. They need to be fun to look at. No matter what you're trying to do with the writing, no matter how interesting you're trying to make the story, it's a comic book. It's got to look cool.
You got
to
draw
that was a way just to to flex a little bit here and there. It's just like, all right, I'll increase the difficulty a little bit on myself because I think it'll look cool when people are going through it. But
so I'll say this, and then I want to dip backwards just a little bit in the conversation. Something that you and I talked about early was the fact that like this book is a third action. It's not the action hits when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
But this book is a special book, but there's something else about it other than the action. And I feel like that your attention to detail it more than makes up for that, which is value. Like as businessman, comic creator, you added value. Like you say, increase the difficulty level, but none of us see how hard you work and the detail on a Kodak box or a plaid or a plaid skirt or a curtain or a black room. It works. Yeah. And I remember way early, probably about the time that you were on with us last, I remember saying to you, you've turned up the darkness, but found a way to like make it crisper. And
because you don't realize how hard it is trying to take black and white and still making things pop out and not just be all blended together.
Yeah.
That takes extreme skill.
It's a continuing education for me. I mean, I made that commitment to black and white when I started this.
Yep.
And when I say black and white, you know, for the people who haven't had the opportunity to look at D versus M, I don't do zipatone or screen tone. I don't mean black and white in terms of like a bunch of gray tones. I mean, kind of like Sin City black and white, but unlike Sin City, I'm trying not to be that stark. Like I'm trying to actually show nuance and some distinction between things. And that sometimes it makes you want to pull your hair out because there's a lot of things that are very difficult to show that way. And you've got to make a lot of weird binary choices. You know, I might be picturing, you know, for example, there are soldiers in 79. They're wearing uniforms. They're not. So on its face, I have two choices. I can draw them as white or I can draw them as black. Well, they're not white or black. They're olive drab. So how am I hinting at that? And it's like you're sort of adding, you're really enhancing the shadows on the fabric. You're trying to add a lot of like little, you know, darker elements in it to kind of just hint that this isn't just a white uniform. There's, you know, that's tricky. And you have to do that all the time. You're constantly figuring out like, what color do I think this is? And how do I suggest that with just black and white? But it's also fun. I mean, I love.
Well, it's like even with this right here, you're trying to have like a shadow of the woman and then showing her watch or that her watch in hand is not blending in with the shadow and the muscle tone of the alien
and that's another good example, actually.
So,
when you look at, like, for example, the alien's body versus the silhouette of Dr. Wagner behind him. You know, the 101 approach to it would be to draw a white line outlining the alien's body to show this is the distinction. The slightly more sophisticated and I think more aesthetically pleasing approach is, well, his bodysuit is shiny. I'll throw some highlights in there and it will imply where the body is without drawing this kind of harsh, like weird white cartoony outline. Like there's a lot of decisions like that of like, starting just from black and white, what's the minimum amount I can do to suggest something without letting it drift into, I don't know, something that looks like a blueprint or something too technical. Right.
Well, I think that black and white is I love black and white comics. I do. And I do, like, it makes me giggle to think about a DVSM book in color. Yeah. But I also feel like that would be the Christmas episode. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't really, it's not the story. I feel like the story is somewhere else. So I like to look at Junji Ito's black and white and I'm like, yeesh, like that's definitely a world that I like to peek into that I would never want to live in.
Right.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs versus Marsbots is the same, but it's like, hey, that scary world, it's a little bit closer than you might think. And so this world looks real, but because our eyes are in this world, we just can't see the color. And it might be better that way. I think that a lot of this book is, and all right, give me 2 seconds, Ronnie. I'm sorry, but
that's all right.
If I know I'm talking about good shit, we got to talk about good shit.
Oh yeah. So if you like, my camera isn't really attached right now, but if you could show a page soon, that would be great.
Oh yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
So I talked with you earlier, Ronnie, and you said something like maybe pick like your favorite page and like kind of unpack it a little bit. I did too, and I'll get to that in a second.
Oh,
and
cool.
So this is what we're gonna moonwalk backwards a little bit in this story. It's all cool that you as a creator say, this is the way I presented the book, and this is the other way it can be read.
Yeah.
I think that you have to accept that it's two different stories like that. It really is, because Dinosaurs versus Marsbots as the chronological alien versus human war is a story.
Yes.
It's a kaiju battle. It's the main event at WrestleMania. Like that, yeah. But also there's people who forgot to get eggs at the grocery store.
Yeah.
There's people who, like there's Ruben and his partner that are driving in the desert that maybe they should have stopped at that last gas station. Like, we'll probably make it back. But the responsible thing would be to stop. And so I believe that there are the two ways exist. The two ways to read the book exist: the chronological way and our way, the way that it was delivered to our consciousness, which is 75, 97, 79. The only other way that this story could exist is switching 75 and 79. I feel like 97 first would almost be like a one-off, and you would have to crave the other stories, but you would never feel the other stories.
Really interesting to me, because I was just having a conversation with, like a month ago, I was having a conversation with Scott Lost from the Making Comics podcast.
Yep.
And he was saying, and this, I'm excited to hear you say this, because this is very different from what he was saying. He was saying you could read, because I did a Phoenix Fan Fusion with him. We shared a table, and he heard me pitch DVSM probably 200 times over that weekend. And in my pitch, I usually say things like, you can read them in any order. You can start wherever you want. But I suggest you start with 75. I suggest you go through release order. And he said at one point during a lull, he was like, I honestly think you could start with 97. You could start with the Jenny story. And because Jenny is completely fish out of water, she has no idea what's going on, much like the reader. And you could just use Jenny as your vehicle into this and then circle back to all the other ones. Like, you could start anywhere. And I was wondering, like, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. But now you saying that, no, I think the order could be even different from that. It kind of reassures me that, like, it's pretty subjective. Like, whatever you...
It is. I love watching The Shining YouTube videos. And there's a quadrillion other meanings other than Jack Nicholson losing his mind in the Overlook Hotel. And
of course.
Yeah.
And they all make sense and they all work. And I think that that is the hallmark of the next level of storytelling. I'm not comparing your book to The Shining, because I don't think that I don't think that there needs to be a ranking.
No.
I don't think that there
even
needs
if there
to be
was a ranking, Shining is its own tier. That's its own.
It's something else. It's Michael Jordan, like it's we all play basketball and it's all good and there's still good basketball on, but that's fucking.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed enjoyed the movie. It's not The Shining, but Dr. Sleep was a good movie. But
Dr. Sleep was good.
When they got more into the supernatural and they had like more of the powers. But I would say definitely your series is above Dr. Sleep, but The Shining is above.
I will accept that. I will accept the DVSM is superior to Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
So I think that interpretation is the sign of is the sign of connection, and connection that's the winning. That's you hit the mark. So you have a upper level story. 1, 2, 3. Who cares? Like, this is an upper level story. I would love to watch Empire Strikes Back as much as I would love to watch The Thing, as much as I would love to watch Rosemary's Baby, now that I was introduced to through you on this show.
Did you finally watch?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Oh,
that's our next episode. That's the next
that was a
episode that we need to do together.
I'd be happy to go back and watch. I'd be happy to go back and watch that. But okay, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots as it's released, 79, 75, 97, 79, is a story of connecting you to this world as it exists. Ruben, oh gosh, what's Ruben's partner's name?
George.
Ruben and George is extremely relatable to our entertainment senses. Like we'll talk about this for a second in a John Carpenter Apocalypse trilogy, like simile, not comparison, but simile. 75 establishes this is a cool world. Pulp Fiction with X-Files, 100% agree. It's that feeling. Yeah. There's things, that book is all action as opposed to this book. Like once they get to the trailer, it's open chaos.
Right.
You connect to that book with your entertainment feeling. 97 is this is what it's like to be anybody in this world. This is catching COVID. This is, anti-God spewing in your mouth. Like now, not only is this something that's here to get you, kind of like The Thing, it's inside of you, but it doesn't transform you. Yeah. But it is, you know what I mean? It is inside you, and your body can do unexpected things that look very visually terrifying.
Basically, it's like being a casualty. You're a civilian caught in the middle of a war.
Yeah. You're a prisoner. You're a prisoner of a space war that you have nothing to do with. Yeah. And you're still alive. You know what I mean? Like, ending your life is not on the table, but changing your life forever is. Right. That's where you get with 97. This book is the consequence. This book is where the cold comes from in the desert in 97. So for me, it's the logical step back, because I feel like 97, my favorite book, as I told you before, it's 97 is so out there because it's so personal that I feel like if it leads, it almost makes 79 and 75 like satellites. It almost makes them like, oh, here's some more story. But now it's like you're connected to this story in so many ways. And this book does what the first two did in one book. So yes.
Oh, thank you.
There's an uptick. Like that's also a thing now.
That's a little bit how, that's interesting you say that, because it's a little how I thought of this one. I saw the Dr. Wagner character as, in some ways, not in all ways, but in some ways, kind of a hybrid of Ruben and Jenny. Kind of someone who's part of the machine, but also a victim of it. Like she is kind of, she could probably relate on some level to both those people.
Yep.
Where Ruben would maybe have trouble relating to Jenny. Jenny would have trouble relating to Ruben. But they could all sort of, Dr. Wagner is a little bit of a nexus point for them, where they can kind of see, she's a civilian, she's working for the government, she's involved in some of this war effort, but she's also being eaten up by this machine. Like she's a victim of it, kind of like Jenny is. So I appreciate that you kind of sniffed that out.
I definitely agree, because people don't know Dinosaurs versus Marsbots is, the government using dinosaurs to fight aliens. And I like this a lot because, like you were saying, she's part of the system. She's part of the machine, but she's realizing that, these creatures, these aliens are coming to destroy humanity. But then we're bringing things that died millions of years ago and using them as a weapon and not caring about their feelings and their emotions.
Right. Well, and also I think importantly, not when we're talking about Dr. Wagner, not really caring about her feelings or emotions.
Exactly.
So she's a part of the machine, but she's also recognizing that you can either, it's very much like, do you want to ride the bear or do you want to be under the bear? You know,
Right.
and like, both those sound terrible. But I guess if I have to pick, I guess I want to try to ride the bear. You know, and that's what I think. That's the calculation she's made. You know, the calculation is like, this sucks, but I guess it's good that I'm in the spot I am. You know, compared to one like being in Jenny's chair. You know, for example, like I don't want to be in that chair. Like I don't want to be like, I guess
that's under the bear for sure.
Right, that's under the bear. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like
this. I am so glad that I picked the pictures that I did, y'all. Like I feel like I did. I feel like I did a good thing. I really do. So whenever you're ready to talk about
before we get into our favorite pages, can you go to the page where it shows the 3 scientists?
Let's see. The cameo.
I don't have that one scanned in, but I can show it real quick because I got the book.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could show it. Really
that's
quick.
Right. There's a very familiar face as one of the scientists. Yeah.
I'm gonna make you bigger. Let's
there
see.
He is.
Solo layout.
Yeah. So from left to right,
let me know.
We've got for visual references, we have of course Ronnie on the left there. Next middle there we have Jim Lujan, and then on the far right we have Scott Circland and his characteristic lab coat.
Definitely green. Like he's definitely the free and loose guy of the office.
Right.
I love that Ronnie is so formal. Yeah. Like look at him in a 3-piece suit at work. What are you doing, man?
You're like you going to a job interview after that? Like what are you doing?
It's like, and it just makes you think like, damn, I really do look like Napoleon. I told Gary, I'm like, maybe it's because I sent you the pictures, but it looks like I'm tired in that picture. but I usually do look tired.
This is like 1 a.m. or something. It's midnight. I forgot. It's very late. It's been a long day, but I liked the idea in my head canon, which it doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I liked the idea that Ronnie's character is a bit of a dandy and just always wears a suit to work. He takes his appearance seriously for reasons unknown. Like I liked it. I don't know. I liked that. So.
Oh, just wait until you're in my book. That's going to be fun.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, and I appreciate you lending your likeness to one of the characters.
Not a problem.
Yeah. It's such a fun book. Like anybody who's watching this like later, it's really a go out of your way and get story. I don't know. Are we doing favorite pictures now, Ronnie? What do you want to do?
Oh yes, you could go first. Because mine is my favorite picture is actually a 2-pager.
Oh.
Okay, I got 2 pages too. So you want to do my 1 page of me and 1 page of you? You want me to do mine too and get them out of the way?
Well, the page that I want to do is probably maybe the same one that you want to do.
Well, he's saying Ronnie's talking about the 2-page spread, I think.
Yes, the 2-page spread.
Okay, no, you gotta show it because I want to see your.
Well, I'll have to have you show it because my camera is not working.
Okay, all right. Let me pull it up. Y'all talk for a second.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about this one just because this is a perfect example of beautiful work where I was saying that you found a way to use black and white and make everything stand out where you're like not having everything blended together.
This was,
and it looked like a lot of work, but it's just such beautiful work. And instead of just you doing like flat surfaces, you made some shit look 3D, so you're, you got that 3D perspective. I'm like, this man literally had 3D black and white.
I kind of killed myself over this 2-page spread. I wanted it to be like there were two illustrations in particular in that book. I mean, you want everything to look good, but there were 2 particular. Like, I'm really going to try and knock this out of the park, and that was one. I spent 2 weeks drawing that two-page spread.
It'll be pages 123 and 124, Jason.
Yeah, there you go.
I love the page jump in this book. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I got the right one here.
Yeah, I enjoyed that little fun too.
Look at that. It's fucking
amazing.
The wall.
It really is the wall.
It's
that's
fucking
so awesome.
amazing. then he has the tree, and the barbed wire gate,
Well,
and then he
outside.
has
I
the
want-
outside, and then you have the 3D perspective and the actual detail of the wall explosion. Then you have the ramp, and then go up a little bit, Jason. Then you have like the dead bodies below. Oh, go down. Sorry.
on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, on the floor, you had the dead
Look at
bodies
that.
standing out, and then you have like one of the dead bodies where you could see the rib cage going in, and
Yeah.
the shading like showing that you can't go directly in it because it's getting darker. Fucking masterpiece.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I wanted this page to be shocking and gruesome and loaded with detail, like that would be revealed the longer you stared at it.
Yes,
You can't look
and
away. That's the
from
money.
artistic
is you can't look
perspective,
away.
that's what really stuck out to me.
I wanted it so like the first thing you really see is like, oh, this looks bad, and you see, you know, Ronnie and Opie, the dinosaur. But then like you start to see like, oh, there's blood on the wall, and oh, there's the tree outside, and oh, there's a body part on the ground. Oh, there's half of a dog on the ground. Like there, and the longer you look at it, you realize like, oh, this is horrible. This is more and more horrible, you know.
Okay. So this is not what I had. My answers are different.
Well, you could go next. You could go with your
okay,
next
okay, but I do want to talk about this for a little bit since we're on it. It's the blood. Like how do you know that you've done like the right amount? Like there's the right amount of splatter, because it's easy to do like this splatter everywhere and it's overdone.
Everywhere. Yeah, no, you can.
Yeah.
This is like the money.
Yeah, you can overdo it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, and this
Absolutely.
becomes a personal taste thing. This becomes an aesthetic thing. But I tend to believe
it has to be there for a purpose.
And you have. Well, there's two things. First of all, I'm trying to think like, what do I think actually happened in this room? Like, how did it play out? But then also like practically, what would it probably look like? But then second, when I was drawing that hallway, by the way, and in my notes, and whenever I was talking to friends about like working on it, it was the casual title I had for it for everybody was the murder hallway. Like I got to work on the murder hallway this weekend. I got to go home and work on the murder hallway because and you know, that's one of those things that you write in the script, and you know when you're writing it, this will probably be a 2-page spread. Like you need this to be like you need to really see this. This can't be a panel. Like you need this to be like as big as you can do it, and it needs to be shocking. And that was also talking about color. My girlfriend Mary, she was like, it would be funny if you did that 2-page spread in color, nothing else. Just do like that Wizard of Oz moment of like she comes around the corner and you see like this full color carnage scene of like everything. It's like that would be pretty cool, but no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But anyway, so what I did is I just to very quickly go through my process. I figured out the perspective. I dropped Ronnie and Opie in it, the doctor and the dinosaur. I figured out where a lot of the stuff was. So like the desk is here and the ceiling panel is probably sitting here, and you know, like just figured all that out.
Right.
And then I just started gradually, bit by bit, adding gore and carnage. So it's like, let's put one little arterial spray on the wall. Let's put an arm right here. Like, let's put a leg right here. Let's do half of a dog, but I don't want it to be so shocking. So let's turn it away so you don't see its face. You're like looking into the empty, kind of like a chicken cavity of a dog. Like that was the vision in my head. Like, let's do that. Like, and let's. I
realized I was looking at a cavity before I realized, like, oh,
what exactly a cavity?
That's the dog, right? Yeah.
And let's do the bottom half of a person, but again, not end on. I don't want like let's play it a little coy where you think, is that a whole person? Oh no, it's not. That's just part of a person. Right. And I see a little pile of intestines peeking out from behind him, like just, and you start layering, and you get to the point you realize, like, I think that's enough. You could go way
like
past
treasure hunt.
But then if you go way past it, to me, it gets silly. Like it gets like this way, it becomes Mortal Kombat. Like it's not.
Absolutely. Totally. Yeah.
If you can stop it right just when you think you have enough and not anymore, that, to me at least, and this is the aesthetic thing, the subjective thing, that's more shocking. That's more striking. I think it's more the idea of walking into a room and it being filled to your knees and body parts, to me, is not as shocking as opening a door and finding one hand laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, to me, is more like alarming and weird and strange. And so, like, I'm trying to ride that line of like, where is there just enough for people to go, ugh, and then stop right there, just enough, and just enough to justify her reaction, because the panel just prior, she's coming around the corner and she's seeing this room, and you see on her face like her reaction before you see the room.
Yeah.
So like, what is worthy of this? And it's like, I think that's it. I think I've got it. And it shows just how badly, like, you see some number of victims, it's hard to count up because there's lots of pieces, and a enormous hole in a concrete wall, like, which is, how did that happen?
Oh, I gotta say one thing before we go into more detail.
Yeah.
This character, I think, is one of your best work when it comes to expressing emotion.
Oh,
like the terror in her eyes, like showing absolute terror, not just in her eyes, but the fact is that you have aliens with big black eyes.
Yeah.
But even though you don't see any pupils or anything, you found a way to have these aliens express terror, like, oh shit, this is my last moment.
Thank you. No, I mean, that's a trick with them too. Like, and making something that doesn't look like a person read an emotional state. There's a lot of trial and error in that. So I appreciate you noticing that.
Like people who make like books about animals. Like, how do you show an animal in terror?
Right.
It's hard, especially when you're not having like a human design.
Well, and especially like, the aliens that we see in this one are sort of the, the classic gray type that we all know, like the egg-shaped heads with big black eyes. It's so cliche and it's almost cartoony that it's tricky to try. And this has been a challenge all the way back to 75. Make them scary, make them expressive, give them a sense of like what's going on in their head right now, to like make a face like that, a very goofy looking face work is it's harder than making the human characters look right. I mean, it's because
you've never been a scared gray alien, so like once you know how it feels, you can connect it. We've never been scared antelope, so we don't know how it feels, so we have to like watch Nat Geo and things like that.
Right.
You've been a scared person before. I've been a scared person before. I know what my eyes feel like when I'm really scared. And like, I think that's what, I kind of just agreeing with what Ronnie was saying. Like, it's very hard. This one felt the most like a motion picture. I guess that's the easy. Like, it flowed like in one like fluid motion. It was produced. It was directed. Like, it felt like it just was executed. To use one of your own words about comics. Like,
basically, it's like if this was just shown in a video clip and someone was reading the dialogue, give me some popcorn and a drink, and
absolutely
being at the
I'm
movies.
in. Yep.
Well, and this is a last thing on the emotional appearance of Dr. Wagner. What was fun for this one that didn't really exist in the previous ones, and we can all relate to this is a very human thing. A lot of what we're seeing her doing in the tense and the scary and the dangerous parts of the book, she's alone.
Yeah.
And she's, my thought is, doesn't have to be performative, doesn't have to try to be away. Where like when you look at Jenny, for example, Jenny's very expressive, but she's also very guarded because she's sitting across the table from someone she's trying to be careful with. She's in sort of a poker game with this other person,
Exactly.
So she's trying to keep it, or Ruben and George, they're two men at work. Like, they're not going to sit and break down and lose their minds in front of each other. Like, they're kind of doing their thing. Ronnie,
They're partners.
like I keep saying Ronnie, like that's her name in the book, and I realize it can be confusing with like Dr. Wagner. She is alone, so she's not trying to be away for anybody. She can be completely unguarded and herself. And it was not only fun story-wise to write the first half of the book, or the first third of the book, where she's with people where she is being away. She's doing her projection of who she wants to be at work. And then for the rest of the book, all that dropping away and her just being who she is, just whoever, and like very naturally, and not feeling like, am I being tough enough? Am I being scary?
Yeah.
Like, am I being hard enough? Are people taking me seriously? Like, there's none of that bullshit. Like, it's all just like, she's just being herself. She's alone in the house, scared. Where it's different.
She has that dinosaur with her, which it's great that you went with that dinosaur, because what is it, like an ancient like it's a
oviraptor. Or oviraptor. It's a it looks like kind of how I drew it. It looks kind of like a big emu
in a way,
with sort of a parrot beak. It's a head crest. It's a like an ostrich sized dinosaur.
Like you did things like directors say, I don't the things you don't do is work with kids and work with animals. But you found a way to have these two characters that aren't human and still express emotion and passion for each other.
I thank you. I wanted people,
like a connection,
especially animal lovers, to love Opie.
Yeah.
Like I wanted them to feel some affection for this animal. And you know what meant a lot to me? So this is behind the scenes stuff. So I wrote, I knew all the way in the beginning that this one would be about where did the dinosaurs come from. So I knew we're going to do it about a lab, and it'll be about a scientist, and we're going to talk a little bit about where did these dinosaurs come from. But that was about all I had for like my plan for this book. When I sat down to write it, I had just so right out of college, I rescued 2 kittens, and I'd had them basically my whole adult life up till now. And they were siblings, litter mates. They both lived to a ripe old age, but then got old and died. And I put one to sleep, and then I put the other to sleep like a year later. So like in the span of a year, like these 2 best friends of mine, like I put them to sleep. And now I sat and wrote this script. And I wanted this to kind of inform my relation, like what this story is now about, how we relate with animals. And how animals bring out the best of us and the worst of us, and how we use them in ways. And I wanted let's infuse a lot of that. Let's use some of this life experience. After this book came out, I had someone reach out to me, and this is the first time I've told that story. By the way, I had someone reach out to me and say, Opie made me cry because I just had to put my dog to sleep a couple months ago. And it broke my heart, but at the same time, I felt like that's exactly what I'm going for. Like that's like, it kind of felt like that's I want people to relate to it on that level if they've had that experience. I want people to think about, I wanted people to look at Opie like someone's big, dumb golden retriever. And worry about, I hope nothing happens to that thing. And like, I hope, and worry about like, is she really gonna put him to sleep? Or like, it's like, I wanted that kind of involvement with it. Yeah. And I was happy that people seemed to be relating to Opie in that way. I'm glad that I at least, and that was again, a really ridiculous cold shot to make this very bizarre looking animal something that people might feel tenderness towards. And that,
but that's good writing.
Thank you. I think it's also trying to get exactly like, what does he look like? Like you got to get the eyes right. You got to get like, he can't look too weird and ugly. Like he's got to be a little cute in a way. There's a line to, but you don't want him so cute that he looks like a great big cartoon character.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he needs to look like an animal.
Like Mac and Me. Like I thought the aliens in Mac and Me were too much.
Right. Yeah. It needs to, but that's another thing, kind of like making the gray aliens work. It's a fine line you're navigating. Like, what does Opie need to look like for people to emotionally respond to him?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I did a good job of picking my pictures. I'm going to do it. The first one, I'm going to apologize for in advance because it's sideways, but I wanted to make sure I got it, and I can't figure out how to twist it. But I think we are all mature enough to discuss it while it's sideways. All right. So
you bet.
This picture here, can y'all see it?
Let's see. Yes.
Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
this picture here is the one that if somebody said, make me interested in Dinosaurs versus Marsbots in one page, this is the one I would show. By
the way, quick interjection.
Sound effect. Yes.
Quick interjection. Another cameo appearance.
Corey Kerr.
Corey Kerr, plays the role of
that's right,
of Mike Dunn, Sergeant Mike Dunn, Staff Sergeant Mike Dunn, who's the guard in the secret area in the base. But okay, continue. I'm sorry.
The different way that the weapons sound in this room, the sound effect is very different and obviously hard for Ronnie to process, as it would be any of us.
Oh yeah.
You can kind of tell, like, she already knew what was happening, but confirmation from somebody who is in the defense position and in charge, simply saying it's them. I got to know more about this book, right? Like that's really the point. That's the point of no return. I want to know more about this book. So I'm gonna get the other one set up real quick.
Thank you.
No, but like you said, it's definitely important
it's
because
such an awesome. It's a
gunshot's
movie
going to sound different.
It's really the trailer moment. It for sure is the trailer moment.
100%. Yeah. It's everything you want out of a tiny bite. Like it's the perfect nacho. It's got the meat, it's got the cheese, like
a little jalapeno,
right? Just
Don't
one.
Get me compared on nachos. I'll kill some nachos.
Boy, some nachos sound good. Right now.
Diced jalapeno pieces. Is money. All right. So, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, good story. We've established that. I don't believe that you make it through the stratosphere of next level storytelling without a personal connection. I've talked about it 1,000 times. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. That was my whole life. You mentioned it earlier, and it gave me goosebumps, Gary, when you said all the things that Ronnie had to be while she was at work, and all the things that she had to be that came crashing down with this giant gaping hole in an office building that she came in 1,000 times. I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, it's good. You sound good.
But in that time, and the consequence that ultimately I would assume, like, I know nothing about how the future of Dinosaurs versus Marsbots works, but, and you and I touched on it a little bit, this is the gentlest that that our side, so to speak, really is. As we see in 97, which is another reason why I don't believe in my world I could have received it the correct way, was in 97 the dinosaurs aren't much more than hand grenades. But in this story, like, not only, like, Ronnie is devastated by this project being terminated, not because it's her idea at this point, but because she's so connected to Opie as a friend.
Right.
There's a lot of hurt that comes out of what I would assume happens next. Like, for me, like, in real life, if I'm talking about this as a real life person, like, we would not really look at Ronnie in a very endearing way.
No.
Once one of our family members gets eaten by a loose dinosaur that came out of this space war, you know, that we knew nothing about. But we're the aliens didn't bring the dinosaurs. We did.
Right.
Ronnie
Right.
did.
Right.
And so in a lot of ways, like, this is Anakin. Like, this is the Anakin story. This is Anakin in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Doing the best I can, but I have something that is going to, and when it does, the world won't ever be the same.
Yeah.
But
no, I think
that's me.
Yeah. No, like, and I'm glad, you know, and this is something I'll be elaborating on a lot of that. For all the DVSMs, I usually at some point, and this one's coming soon, probably in the next month, I'll usually release a video that's character creation and analysis on whoever the POV character is. And I've done one for Ruben Garcia, I've done one for Jenny Burke, and I'm going to be doing one for Veronica Wagner. I think, there is definitely an Anakin Skywalker-y kind of lens you could view Ronnie through. Another one that I liked, even though I was in the middle of drawing it when it came out, but when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's kind of a Ronnie vibe. She's got Ronnie energy, is the female Imperial character in Andor, for anyone who's been watching that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, where this is someone who's highly motivated and wants to do their job well and feels very righteous in it, but ultimately is on the wrong side. You know, like I did the best I could. Can't take enough of a step back to recognize, like, you know, you're like kind of what you just said, not going to be looked at fondly 10, 20, 30 years from now. I think, to me, the revealing thing, and this gets into a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not a big deal. The thing that I think is revealing and it's useful as like the keyhole to peek through to see Ronnie's soul is the story opens with basically she's the Wonder Kid. She's figured out how to get the dinosaur program off the ground. They've had a lot of failed attempts. It's been going really, really poorly. And she's figured out the new approach that gets them healthy animals, okay? And one of her proof of concepts is Opie, this dinosaur she has back in the lab. Opie is not a perfect example. It's implied that he's not healthy, that he requires a lot of support to keep alive, that he's, you know, I imagine that he's probably got weird metabolism problems where they have to give him a lot of special drugs and like hormones to keep him going, that, you know, he's got issues. He might have seizures from time to time, whatever the thing is. He's up and around, but he's not the perfect example. And so higher ups in the government say, okay, we're going to proceed with your new plan for making dinosaurs. But by the way, time to euthanize Opie and get his body back to DC to look at, to, you know, analyze like what went right and what went wrong in his body. Now, this is an animal that she's formed a relationship with. This is basically her pet. And I think Opie's importance is that it allows her to be, it rouses the only good qualities she has. It like, you see her smile when she's with Opie. You see her kindness when she's with Opie. Well, you see her tenderness, her thoughtfulness, her sensitivity, like all her best qualities are accessed through her relationship with this animal. Now, that all said, when they say like they want, you know, him euthanized and parts of him sent off to DC, she's the one who says like, well, I'm going to do it myself, which is appalling to almost everybody. Like, why would you do this? I think that's the glimpse into Ronnie. I think Ronnie's attitude is, I am willing to do appalling things so I can tell myself at the end of the day, I'm still in control.
I did.
It's more important to me to be in control of the situation. Yeah, it's more important to me to be in control of the situation.
Also, too, she probably would know a way to kill it quick and not in pain.
Yeah, and well, but that's all after the fact rationalization. Like it would be, easier for me. It would be kinder for him. It would. I'll know the right way to do it. Like all that. But at the end of the day,
I want to be in control.
I'm not going to give up control. I'm going to do the appalling thing because it keeps me on top of the bear. Rather, if I let someone else do this, now I'm under the bear. And I think that's
if they get it to DC and they make it and they make Opie work, then I'll never have another shot to do it again.
And that's to me the path to Anakin Skywalker. It's where it's all about just staying in charge. It's all about just staying in control. It's all about like having power. I think that's what is really deep down motivating her.
And you say power, I have to say a famous line because you gave the character as a female, so I gotta say this line just because it reminded me of something. Dr. Malcolm, God creates dinosaur, God destroys dinosaur. God creates man, man destroys God, man creates dinosaur, dinosaur eats man, women inherits the earth.
There you go. Well, I liked also the idea that I was thinking, I stumbled across some Game of Thrones something while I was drawing this one. And I was thinking like, Ronnie is sort of mother of dragons. Like just like there's
absolutely.
She has this kind of now an almost mythological significance in the Dinosaur-Martian War, where this is this scientist woman who's cracked the code.
Yeah.
And because of the events of this book, most of her colleagues in competition have been removed from the equation. It's very clear in the news clipping at the end of the book, she's the only one who walked away from that base, after the events of this book. So, all those scientists that we saw, played by Ronnie and Jim Lujan and Scott, presumably there's parts of them on that floor in that hallway. So it's, she's now, it's her show now. She starts the story feeling kind of put upon and not taken seriously, and she ends it with basically a big field promotion. Like she's now like, well, you're the girl, you're the one. Like, where I guess you're in charge now. So it's an interesting reversal of fortune for her, or depending on how you look at it.
Right. So, what was the next page you were going to show, Jason? Oh, I think he froze.
Listen there. Hello. I think he froze.
All right.
He'll be back, I'm sure.
Yes, he will be back once he realizes. But definitely what I like here too, it kind of like you probably didn't have this on purpose, but the connection between the animal, the dinosaur, and her, it just brought me back memories as a kid with the 80s and 90s when they would come out with movies like that, where I literally watched the other day, and I forgot all about the movie when Tom Hanks was a cop and he had that dog,
Turner and Hooch.
Yes. Where it's like I just look at that, I'm like trying to find a way where you're gonna have a human and an animal work together in a movie.
Yeah.
And it's not just gonna be about comedy, but you actually have parts in that scene where you actually cry and feel a deep connection between these two.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I wasn't thinking specifically about that, but of course there is like a long tradition of how to do like an animal-human relationship in a story. And I like I said when I was writing it, I didn't want to neglect that aspect. I didn't want Opie to be a background figure. I wanted Opie to be very much like a part of this, and I wanted Opie, just like I was talking about before, more than anything, be a way to reveal aspects of Dr. Wagner's character. Like, I think that's Opie's biggest function. When you look at it from a storytelling perspective, what is the role of Opie in this story? The role of Opie is to tell you something about Veronica.
Well, before I let Jason show his next page, I just got to say that you as a writer outside of an artist is
Top
really
notch.
amazing too, because you find a way to not just tell the story, but you find a way to show how, like, with the characters interaction with each other, making them actually seem like they're really caring and connected to each other. Like with
Thank you.
the first book, having the two agents, like, not just talking about their personal lives, but like actually showing that, hey, these two agents actually have history together. Just like
Yeah.
this dinosaur and her have history together. Like
Yeah.
finding ways to show that, but in such a small book and not going over the top in detail. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
just really great work from a
Thank
writer's
you.
perspective.
Yeah. No, I felt like I do feel like, especially since these are character driven stories, and especially since Dr. Wagner is a little bit of a chilly character.
Yeah.
If there's a way to put it in there, you want that moment of warmth, or something. And there's a couple panels in particular that I really enjoy of Dr. Wagner and Opie together. But one that I'm just thinking of off the top of my head, she's trying to get his food ready for him. And he rushes up and kind of bumps her from behind and is kind of like, and she's like looking over her shoulder at him and kind of smiling. And it gives that essence of like, you're preparing the dog bowl and the dog's hopping around.
Absolutely.
Like it has
Same
a little,
thing, yeah.
Yeah, it has that vibe. And it's moments like that I think read and are relatable. But it's, with the writing and with the drawing, you're trying to find those. Like, how can I communicate this very quickly that this is their routine? That at the end of the day, she goes back there and she makes him this little treat of baby formula, and they have their little moment together where they sit and they take a nap together. Like, this is the thing they do every day, maybe.
Yeah,
right.
And so it's the little things you put in to kind of, and the way she talks to him, the way she just talks to him the whole time, the little things she says. Like, I just thought,
sure.
They should reference like, oh, I talk to my dog like that. I talk to my cat like that. Whatever, whatever your thing is. Especially with a character like her who's kind of ferocious and kind of kind of like confrontational and a little not overly sympathetic. To have that opportunity to do that, like that's where it's like, okay, now I see the complete person there. And what, like what Jason, what you were talking about before, it's like, this is her without all the mask. This is her without like, I'm, I gotta grit my teeth, clench, and put on my game face now. Yeah. Like this is when all that's dropped. This is what she looks like sitting in her apartment alone. This is what she looks like.
Knows?
This is like,
who knows, like as a kid, maybe, how like some people are like, well, I don't relate to humans that well, so that's why I'm a dog trainer, because I relate to dogs. I mean, who knows if you, with the back side, she could be like, oh, I always fell in love with dinosaurs and I took on this project because I'm so passionate about it since I was a kid. You know
something
what I'm saying?
Like that. Like I don't know if I would decide this is like actually the truth or not, but I could imagine that Dr. Wagner, when she was a little girl, she was in like 4-H or something and had to raise a goat, like that kind of thing. Where like, totally. And it was one of those things where it's like, well, now we're taking the goat away, and she was heartbroken. Where it's like I think she's a city girl, and she doesn't relate to animals in terms of what does it do for me, and like I think that's the difference between city folk and farm folk. I think farm folk, this is painting with a broad brush here, but farm folk, they look at animals and it's sort of like, can I eat it? Can I milk it?
We're gonna get canceled, Gary.
I know. No, but I mean, I've known farm folk, and I've talked about this, and there's this, they're not pets. You don't name them. Like, these are Like, I have these chickens to lay eggs. These are not my pets.
Right. Yeah.
I have this pig because I'm going to make a ham. Like, I mean, I don't have it to name and put a hat on it and invite it into the house. Like, this is I'm using this animal.
Right.
And then there's city folk who relate to animals, aside from the parts of them that they buy in the grocery store. Like, they relate to animals as like, this is my kid, this is,
exactly.
and I think Ronnie falls more in that category, where she's not. The other scientists in the lab might have a healthier relationship with the animals there, but she's very much like
she's like the dog mom.
She's the dog mom. This is a sensitive feeling creature, and I can connect to it better than I connect to these assholes at work. And so, which creates, it's good, it's humanizing, it shows the emotional character of this person, but it also shows, I think, a lot of the deficiencies she has. And I think it highlights how poorly she's relating to all the human beings in her life. That this is the healthiest, best relationship she has is with this dinosaur in a lab.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, you could show your next panels, but you definitely captured what the emotion of what a person looks like when they just put their whole life into their work, and instead of finding time for outside.
Yes, yeah, and I don't think she has much of a life outside of work. I
feel like we're on target with the picture I'm about to show, which is pretty
perfect.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
So the first picture I picked was, like we talked about, this picture captures every reason why you would want to read this book quick. Boom. But this, for me, is the most connective picture of the book. Let me make sure it's loaded before I do my screen share. I'm trying to get better about this screen share business, but I'm not a pro.
But yeah, if you could help me, because I know sometimes with my internet, if I click on something, the delay is bad, so I don't know if I'm playing the video or not.
On the fritz.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try to do this, and I'll try to get it out pretty quick so we can just chat a little bit more without having to worry about connection and stuff.
Cool.
But as I was saying, this picture is early in the book, and for me, it may not be something that just everybody connects to, and that's cool. But I think that it's definitely a picture that I connected to because I remember the sound of my dress shoes all the time. And there's just these panels of Ronnie, and you go through the process of her being hard and older and professional, but she's not really that old yet. But she's been thrown into this situation where she's basically she's the most important person in a building that literally wants to reject her.
Right.
For sure.
And so as you see her walking in the page before this, there's not much on the page except for the sound of her shoes.
Yeah.
I've walked many a floor in dress shoes. And in this page here went through a few things. And this conversation tonight has been so good because it gave me a different perspective on it. But as I'm looking at this picture, I see her becoming aware of the sound her shoes are making. I remember doing that. And about the time that a smile pops on my face or a grin from me doing it, she has the same expression. So that is something in sales, and it's to me, it's kind of sleazy. They tell you to mimic a person's body language in order to connect with them. If you're talking to somebody who has their arms crossed, you cross your arms. And if a character in a book cracks a grin about the same time that I do, gosh, man, like it makes me feel like it's for the same reason. That's pretty fucking awesome. Like that's everything you want in a page. But now in this conversation, I can also see the sound her shoes make remind her of Opie, and that also puts a smile on her face.
It is, and there's a little bit of I think I played with the idea. I didn't make this official because I don't know enough about it to do that. But I played with the idea when I was writing the script that Dr. Wagner is somewhere on the spectrum, and she's a little, and I liked the idea as just a hint of that
Yep.
And not only that, but very inward, very, very like, very, very introverted and very inside her own head. And I thought a way to maybe demonstrate all those things would be her playing this little game with herself to occupy her time of like, I'm going to step very exactly on the intersection of every tile. And I'm going to turn around without lifting my feet. I'm going to swivel on my heels when I turn around. And this is the game I'm playing with myself while I pass the time. And I'm just going to pace this hallway and I'm going to come up with these silly rules that I have to observe. I also thought it was, again, meaningful, kind of metaphorical of I'm going to constrain myself within the limitations, these kind of arbitrary limitations of how to behave in this environment. I'm going to, I'm going to just, here's the game I'm playing and I'm going to play the game. But I liked, again, that little human moment, just a hint of it. You get more of it when you see her with Opie, but just a hint right off the bat before she has to deal with people. That's the closest she gets to a little bit of.
She's got a real smile on her face.
Yeah.
Genuine grin.
It's just when now she has to deal with these guys. That you can, and you see her jaw set and you see her like body tense up and you see her like kind of a lot of, you, especially in the next few pages, I worked in all these little gestures of like, you'll see panels where she's gripping her, she's got her hands at her sides and you can tell she's making a little fist on her skirt. Like she's kind of bunching it up in her hands, or she's got
you show her let one go. Yeah,
like she's just a little keyed up, and a lot of it's justified. I feel like she's just not taken seriously, and it's been a fight for her to get taken seriously, and seen for the contributor that she is.
Right.
But I think also, to be fair, she's a bit of a pill. Like I think she's one of these types who expects to not be taken seriously and therefore immediately is confrontational. Like immediately is kind of treating you that way, even though you didn't even give them a chance to show that they're a piece of crap. Like you're just assuming they are.
You might be right, but
and so that's
it's like, oh, this is this is the 70s woman trying to like show that she's worthy, and then you got the Three Stooges acting like assholes.
The Three Stooges, I love it. And I imagine that, but especially that first guy who walks out, the first person we see other than her in the comic,
the old man,
like that's the one that you can tell they've had many a war. Like they're like they just do not get along. And no, for sure, it's all those things. It's part of why I decided that it would be easier for the story I had in mind to make Dr. Wagner a female character, and in particular, a younger, attractive female character, because I needed someone who just from the word go is getting side eye from her colleagues, and I think it's 79, like 1979, like this is not going to be like, she's going to have to prove herself, and she's going to have a lot of fights, and she's going to have to deal with. And even in that encounter with the Three Stooges, which I'm going to steal, I love that now. The Three Stooges, like people are complimenting her, and I think your character Ronnie says, great job, young lady. Which you can imagine, like she's probably like gritting her teeth, like you could have said doctor, you could have said Veronica, like you could have said any other thing, and I'm young lady. But that I think there's a lot of everyday stuff like that she's navigated, and it's made her very brittle. It's made her very thin-skinned, and so she's constantly feeling a little scrappy and confrontational.
Of course.
So again, like to show those moments, like she's playing the little hallway game with herself, or she's with this animal she loves. Like you get these glimpses of her when she's not lost in that swamp of what do people think of me, and what should I say, and how should I seem, and how do I need to come off, And you notice even in her note cards to herself, in the very beginning, you see her speaking points for this presentation she gave before the comic started. She's got all these notes to herself, like confident, clear, like, you know, like make eye contact. Like she's in her head all the time on like, how do I need to be? How do I need to be? And I just feel like that's a kind of living hell. And so I wanted to show, you know, this is where she's usually, but then again, like here it is. Here she is when the guard comes down.
Gotcha. My last page, if you could go to it, Jason, is page 41.
Page 41.
All right.
Because it goes into the expression of the alien that I just love.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
So, yeah, just what I love about that.
Him cowering.
Like, no, the next one. But I do love that. How you able to, like, create, like, a pitch black and a light. But you see the terror on him. But then you see, like, the evil, not the evil, but, like, how angry she looks. Like, if you had this page by itself.
Yes, I love
her face. Like, if
I do love, you know,
you
the
had
one
this
I
page
really
by
like.
itself, you'd be like, oh my gosh, she's killing an alien.
Yeah.
You know,
she's kind of
like,
a monster in the room. Like, there's a tale.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's kind of like this monster in the room. Yeah.
Yes, and especially like, if you go to the top panel on the other page.
Like her face, like your actress, she made the faces for this.
I enjoyed this top panel here because to me it's like one panel from the alien's perspective. And I liked this scene of the one with the light source seeing his friend struggling with this shadowy giant figure in the room that is wrong.
Exactly. That's what I love about it.
But I like that script flip where it's like, no, it's kind of terrifying. But my favorite face, I think, of Ronnie, and if you go to there's a page, you'll have to find it, Jason. I don't have it.
And great work with your black colors, like trying to, like, again, showing how the alien is using a flashlight in a pitch black room.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, that was
creating that like what it would look like when he saw the giant dinosaur in its feathers.
I like, and how blown out it looks. How like overexposed, like the flashlight's right in front of it.
But you actually captured what it would look like if it was a real flashlight.
You know what my original inspiration was for that? This will take you guys back. Do you remember in E.T. when Elliot's looking through the cornfield?
Yeah.
And he stumbles across E.T. with his flashlight. And like it's basically the same thing. Like he hits E.T. with the flashlight and E.T. goes, rah. And it was, I remember as a little kid, it scared the shit out of me.
It's easy to do. It's easy to do in color, but you're able to capture it in black and white. That's what's so amazing about it.
There's a scene where Veronica has cut the alien's throat and she's like over it, like gritting her teeth, like.
Yes.
Go to the top of the next page, I think.
This one.
Yes, the first one on the second page, the first panel on the second page.
That.
There we go.
I've always liked, you've got it. It's a little hard to see, but I've always liked her expression.
I'm making you solo. Yeah.
Because I wanted this impression of she's adrenaline drunk, she's terrified, she's also in like violent mama bear mode. And I picture her kind of panting and wild-eyed staring at this thing to see if it's dead. And I really liked how and I liked showing a knife fight where she's getting covered in blood. You know,
it's personal.
Yeah, it's like what it would be like if you're rolling around on the ground with a knife with somebody. Like,
but she was the one who said they can be killed like any of us. We don't need this extra
Why are
stuff.
we doing this fancy dinosaur thing? Like,
right?
Yeah,
they're just. And that to me is another just sneak preview of when I do the Veronica video. I think it gets you another glimpse into how she thinks, where there's one line in it where she's talking about this. Early in the book, she doesn't even believe in this program. She's taking it seriously. She's trying to do it as the best she can. She, cares about
She
her
just wants
work.
to know why, right?
But she thinks it's ludicrous. Like, she would rather be working on any other aspect of this. Like, this is silly. But she says at some point, when she's talking about the aliens, they're animals just like you and me. Like, all you need to do to make if you understand how they work, we can make them not work. Like, if you show me one of their bodies, I'll show you how to kill them, and like this, it's ridiculous that we're chasing all these crazy solutions to a very simple problem. Yeah. And to me, that indicates, I think there's something very revealing about her. And first of all, saying like, they're just animals, just like you and me, i.e., we're all just a bunch of animals. Like, there's a very materialistic, pragmatic, kind of cynical way she views the world, and it's a little amoral, it's a little unromantic.
It's 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of the puzzle pieces fall into place. How can she do this job? How can she be cheating on her boyfriend or husband and sleeping with her boss? How can she be like, all these questions, like, how can she do that? Well, because it's all silly nonsense anyway. We're all just a bunch of animals. We all have our desires and urges. Yeah. We all like it's all like, she doesn't care. Like, she's very cynical and very practical, and a little bit of a drag. She's a little intense. She's a little heavy. Like, she's the one in the black turtleneck talking to you about how the world's all screwed up. Like, she's heavy. She
knows best about everything.
She knows best about everything. And if we could cut through the bullshit, if you would just listen to me, you'd understand.
A lot simpler
if you just do it the way would be a better place. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. That's Ronnie in a nutshell. Absolutely. Yeah. Damn. Darren, we over an hour and 20. We did it.
That went fast.
That did go fast.
I mean, we had a lot to talk about.
We got some pretty easy source material to draw from tonight. Like, it's always good to talk to our homeboy about his good story. That's pretty
good. Don't come out that often. It's about every other year. So
this is true. Yeah. So it's a special occasion. Like, we got to do it every other week till the next one is out.
Yeah, it's great work. I mean, it really is. And I'm not just saying that as a friend, but from one artist / writer, it's amazing work. And you definitely should be proud of it, because I'm proud as your friend. I'm proud of this work. And just, it's just one of these things, like, where it's like one of the people had I think it was the guy that I had on last week. He's like, if you could, what would be like your top 10 favorite indie series? And definitely yours is out of that top 10. And I'm not just saying that as a friend, but I've read a lot of indie comics since I've done this show. And you as my friend, I could definitely say your work is good and amazing. And it needs to be seen by more people, because I know people would fall in love with it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. I'm going to try this year, as I gear up to my intention is to have a script for the next one done this year. Yep. So, because I want to be drawing it next year. So, along with that, I'm going to be I have been trying to pop up on more shows and promote a little bit more, and kind of preach the gospel of DVSM a little bit more. Just because, even though, it's for me, it's never been about getting a big audience and getting all the clicks and whatever the thing is. But I am at a point where it's like, I think I have a dedicated enough audience to know that I've got something here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if people would like it, then, like, they should have the opportunity to know about it. And I think so. It's giving me the confidence to say like, all right, I could let more people know about this. But
Well, yeah, because I mean, you didn't go with the whole Kickstarter route. You're just on
no,
Etsy and then trying to jump from, friend's channel to friend's channel
yeah,
to promote your work. And I understand because looking at Kickstarter, it's a lot of work, especially when you
it's a
get
lot of
into
work.
those multiple tiers,
Yeah. Though I might, and I've talked about this a little bit on my channel. There's no timeline, but I am thinking about my first Kickstarter is probably somewhere in my future, maybe sometime next year.
Nice.
And it's going to be to crowdfund a trade of the first 3 books, 75, 97, and 79, in like a trade paperback, like all together in one
Very
collection,
cool.
with some bonus material and stuff. People who've watched my Instagram maybe saw that I did, or I had done a custom print of Jenny Burke from 97.
Yeah, I did see that.
Her mugshot, which I always had this imagined, oh, it'd be really cool to see her mugshot. Done by a really super talented artist, Laura Jacobson. She did it in oil. It's full color, Jenny, getting her mugshot done. I love how it looks. That would be in the trade. I'm going to get a custom piece of art done for each of the other books too. There'll be probably some behind the scenes stuff and maybe an interview. I'll make it worthwhile for people who have already read the books.
Yeah.
Some bonus material, but that I'm thinking is going to be next year, and that will be a Kickstarter, which will help.
It's the box set.
The box set, yeah.
I love it.
Then I'll be off just working on the last 3. Like I said, I'm dialing in the story for the 4th one right now. I'll probably start making passes at rough drafts in the next month or 2. Like I'm getting pretty close to feeling like I'm ready to start doing drafts. And I do intend to be drawing next year because I intend for it to come out the year after.
Nice.
The DVSM schedule, for anyone unfamiliar, is I tend to it takes me about 2 years beginning to end to get each one out. So every other year a new issue comes out. So one just came out a couple months ago. I'm hoping the next one will come out in 2025.
Nice. Awesome stuff. Well, people, you need to buy the book. But before we end, Jason, let people know what you got going on.
Yes.
Fogbreaker Studios. I don't have it prepared tonight, but I'm doing a horror series of art. I'm gonna do stickers. I'm gonna do prints. I think I'm leading off with prints because I kind of want to get I want to get some moved. The first set is good, and the first set is done. Like I got 4 pictures. So I put SpongeBob up on my Instagram today. I may put another 1 or 2 up tonight. So
I love it.
And then
let people,
it goes on
also,
from there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And also, people, at one point, I'm just gonna set the time and really do it because I want to work more on A Vengeful Heart, but Jason already sent me the script, and eventually, pretty soon, I do want to work on the script that he sent me. So that way, Comics Della Morte actually has like a small comic out that we did together.
I love that idea.
Post.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, I totally think we should. I'm excited to see what you do with it. And so I got that going on.
Started brainstorming ideas.
I got a few mini comics. Antikythera is still for sale. I ran into a little production snag because my printer died. So I either got to get it fixed or come up with a plan B on a printer because there was a few things that I found that kind of didn't look crisp enough to go out. Okay. So you can find that on my Ko-fi account. I don't have any of my links, but I'll post them in a little bit.
I have your links in the
okay, good deal. Thanks, man. I'm trying to get better back with my Instagram.
His copy is in the
TikTok.
description.
And but no, there's some good stuff coming. And I'm getting my head about me again. And I've been producing. I just haven't been sharing. So I'll get into sharing a lot more here soon. I'm Fogbreaker Studios wherever you would want to find me, unless it's something that you wouldn't expect from me. Then it's probably not me. Hopefully, but just send it to me first before you share it, and then we'll see what it is and how much that information is worth to you. But yeah, Fogbreaker Studios, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I did open a thread because I figured the more I can talk about what I want to talk about, the better. So on my thread account is Fogbreaker Studios too. So that's what I got.
I also recently opened a thread, mostly just because some people were saying that if you didn't claim your handle right away, maybe you wouldn't have it. So I just went and activated it. So you can find me on Threads.
Excellent.
Gotcha. Awesome. And me, if you guys don't know, 4 chapters is out. I'm working on the 5th one, and my plan is to get the book done by the end of the year, but a lot of stuff happened to me that these two know. But if not, definitely sometime the beginning of next year. And it's just really fun because it's going to be like, at this point, it's almost going to be like Gary's book, where it's like 60 pages or more. So it's more going to be like a graphic novel than a comic, regular page comic. But it's been a lot of fun because, this first part is like the origin story, but it's called A Vengeful Heart for a reason, because you're looking at all these different people that are part of this big open world, and each of them have a story where they got revenge on people who did them wrong, and it's just been fun to really, in the beginning, tell the perspective of the mother before you get to the son, who's going to be the main character throughout the rest of the series, because I wanted to be like, behind every, strong man is a strong woman. And I just wanted Emily to shine in the beginning of these series because, she was, seduced and overtaken by the devil, and I thought she had a story to tell, instead of like, oh, this is the woman that gave birth to the Antichrist and we're just going to jump forward. No, I thought there was more that needed to be told there. And from what people said that I've sent them, and from what Gary and Jason have said, I'm glad I went with that route with the story, like showing more detail on the mother.
It really is.
Well, and
so not
everyone you do, everything you show us, I think looks better than the last thing you did. Yep. Like it's leaps and bounds. So like it's really cool. Not only watching the story unfold, but watching you, I think, get more confident and accomplished as a creator.
Yep, totally. Well, that's just it. The more you believe in your story, the more it's easier for the reader to believe in it. So it's, your passion shows. Like if you're just producing something to toss out, even if it looks, it's all sizzle. There's no steak.
Right.
But once you believe in what you're doing, it starts to show and people connect with it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey guys, it's past my bed.
Oh.
All right. Well,
I thought he was being curiously quiet.
Yep. So I think that we did it.
I think we did it. I thought an hour and a half is a respectable. I
think that's good, and it was not a lot of dead space. I think we hit the points. I think that we've established that this is a book that if you haven't read it, you should be reading it, and if you have read it, you should read it again. If you haven't gotten the third one, you should go get the third one.
You should, and actually, if you are interested and you're on the fence, stock is getting limited. There's not a ton left. I'm getting pretty close to selling out. So
this happens every time.
It happens every time, and every time I bump up the number I get printed, and just because I've been very fortunate, every time there's a little more interest than I expect, and so it goes away. So if you are interested, I would say jump on it now. And on my Etsy shop, if you go there, you get a pretty steep discount if you buy all 3 books. So if you've never tried a D versus M, it's really reasonable just to go ahead and grab all 3 at once and get fully caught up. They are fat books. So
and then you can decide what order it reads best in.
You can. Yeah, you can weigh in. And actually, I'd be very curious to hear that. And I'm also always very curious, because each one is a totally different POV character. I would love to hear who your favorite character is, because I really hope, like, my dream is that everyone has their own, like, they all argue about who the most, like, which one they like best.
Right.
That would make me feel like I did my job right. So some people are huge.
I'm back.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yes. So what were you saying?
Yeah, if you buy all 3, you're gonna get like 160 pages of story. Like, they're fat books, so you're getting a lot of value for your money.
Totally. What else can I say? I think that we covered it. Ronnie, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, eventually, I do want to add stuff to my Kofi store. Like, I do want to try to do some prints and try to sell some prints and stickers just for, just to have some merch for not just the book, but like, I'm a horror artist too. So it would just be fun to like take my own, re-edition and do some fun stuff with some like classic horror monsters. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, but this definitely was a fun episode. It's been a while. Like I said, it's been like since episode 69 that we really, all 3 of us sat down and just really hung out like this. So we definitely have to do it again soon.
We do. We need to come up with maybe a topic and like a movie or something, and do a group chat.
Yep.
Well, we could talk about Rosemary's Baby. I mean, Jason finally watched it.
We haven't done Rosemary's Baby, have we?
No, we haven't.
Well,
no.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll definitely go back and watch it again. That's another one. Like, it's like The Thing. I guess it's a masterpiece. Like, you can watch it on mute, and it means just as much.
I would love an excuse to rewatch
visual
it.
buttons.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years, and I would love an excuse to watch it again. So
yeah,
all right,
for sure.
Yeah, let's get together at some point this weekend and like figure out a time for that.
Yeah, because I know
that's
next week.
One that's got a lot to unpack.
Yeah, because I know next week I think I have another guest coming on the show, so I'll have to check my schedule to see when I don't have anybody on.
No hurry.
Even if we need to just do have that guest on Thursday and try to get you on like a Friday or some other day of the week, even do that.
Yeah, whatever. We can figure it out.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Well, you guys have a good weekend and see y'all next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.